Hello friends, welcome to Krishna's Tech Info. In this video we can see about the etc fstab file. So the etc fstab file is a system configuration file which contains all the available disks, disk partitions and their options. So each file system is described on a separate line. So in this file we can see the 6 fields which is separated by one or more spaces or tabs. So if you want to add a new hard disk or repartition an existing one, you need to modify this line. So we can see about the etc fstab file now. So the first field is the device field. So the first field in the fstab entry holds the information about the local or the remote block device which should be mounted. So you can see the device name is named in UID. You can specify the device name using the UID. You can also give the block device name here like /dev fstab stba or sta1. You can also label the partition and also give the label option. You can also specify the label here to mount the partitions. The first field specified the block device. So the second field you can see the mount point, which is here the root partition is mounted in /. The second one is /boot, which contains the boot files. So /boot is the mount point for the boot partition. So if you're going to add a new device, you can mention the mount point in the second field. So the third field is the file system type. So here you can see the file system type for the root partition is XFS. So if you're going to mount a ext4 file system or ext3 or XFS, you can mention it in the third field, which is the file system type. So the fourth field is the mount options. Here you can provide the list of options to be used when you are going to mount a file system. So to use the default set of mount options, you can just give it as default as a value. So the default values are read write and the SUID, which will set the UID and the set GID bits. It interrupts the character and block devices on the file system and allows executing binaries and scripts, which is the execute and auto, which mounts the file system when you give the -a option when mounting using the mount command. The no user option also is inside the default option. The standard user can mount the file system. You can mention the default option, which will contain all these specified options here. Fifth field is to mention you are going to dump a partition or not. If you want to take a complete backup of a partition, you can just give 1. If you don't want to take a backup of a partition, you can just give 0. So by default it will be 0. So the last field in this fstab file is for the file system check order. So if you want the file system to be checked, you can give it as 1 or 2. 1 is for the root partition file check. For the value 2, you can specify for the other partitions other than root partition. If you want to perform the file check in the other partition, you can specify the value as 2. If you don't want the file system check, you can specify it as 0. You can add a new entry for a file system now. So I've newly added this dev stb in this system, so I'm going to add an entry for this. So I'm going to copy this device name, and now we can specify the mount point. I have given the mount point as new disk. The partition type is ext4. Next I'm going to give the default options for this. So I don't want to take a backup of this, so I'm going to give 0. And for the file system check, I'm going to give 2 to check the file system during the boot. So I'm going to save this file now. After adding this disk to the fstab file, the disk will be automatically mounted to the system whenever you reboot the system. If the disk is not added to the etc fstab file, the partition will not be mounted after boot. So in this video we saw about the fstab entries. Thanks for watching this video. Post your comments and suggestions. Please share and subscribe to my channel. Press the bell button to get instant notifications on my videos. You can follow me on this Instagram ID and Facebook page. For any queries, you can reach me on this Skype ID.